Marcus had just finished a long shift at the downtown firm, the kind of day that left his head pounding and his shoulders tight. He loosened his tie as he slid behind a wheel of his sleek black Chevy Tahoe. The sun was dipping below the horizon, painting the city in that warm, amber glow. He was thinking about his daughter's science project, the one he promised to help with that night, and the lemon pepper wings his wife said she was cooking. It was supposed to be a quiet drive home, but fate had other plans. Just a few blocks from his neighborhood, those dreaded red and blue lights exploded in his rearview mirror. Marcus's stomach dropped. He checked his speed, exactly 35. Signal lights? Working fine. No music blasting. Nothing suspicious. So why? He pulled over calmly, already reaching for his wallet. Not because he was doing anything wrong, but because he'd learned long ago how quickly things could spiral when you look like him in the wrong part of town. From the moment the officer stepped out of the squad car, Marcus knew something was off. The cop was tall, built like an ex-linebacker, with that slow, purposeful walk that screamed intimidation. He had one hand hovering near his holster and the other adjusting his belt like he was preparing for a showdown. Marcus rolled down the window and offered a polite, "Good evening, officer." No response. Just a squint, a long pause, and then a cold voice. "License and registration." "Now." "No, sir, no explanation. Just an order." Marcus handed over the documents without a word. The officer didn't even glance at them before eyeing Marcus's tailored shirt and leather watch. "This your vehicle?" the cop asked like it was some kind of joke. "Yes," Marcus replied evenly. "Is there a problem, officer?" There was a pause. The officer leaned in closer, his nose practically touching the window frame. "You fit the description," he said, voice low. "Blackmail. Driving a stolen SUV. Possibly armed." Marcus blinked. "Excuse me?" But the officer was already reaching for his radio. Marcus felt his throat tighten. His fingers gripped the steering wheel, knuckles pale. This was escalating too fast. The cop didn't even look at Marcus again before barking into his radio. "I got a suspect pulled over. Blackmail. Solo driver. Requesting backup." Marcus's heart was pounding now. A suspect? Of what? Within minutes, another squad car pulled up behind him. Then another. 3 patrol vehicles. 6 officers. Guns visible. All surrounding one man in a suit, fresh from work, with nothing in his car but a laptop bag and a lunchbox. "Step out of the vehicle," the first officer ordered. Marcus hesitated. "Now." Slowly, Marcus opened the door, his hands raised. He stepped out and onto the curb. But just as he did, a voice cut through the tension. Calm, commanding, and coming from behind the nearest cruiser. "What the hell do you think you're doing, Officer Jenkins?" Everyone turned. And that's when Marcus saw her. Lieutenant Dana Holloway. Uniform crisp, expression tight. And she was furious. Lieutenant Dana Holloway wasn't just any cop. She was one of the highest-ranking officers in the district, and the only black woman in command in a department that was 90% white, 100% political, and always watching. She didn't play favorites. She didn't hand out warnings. But when she saw injustice, she made sure everyone around her felt it. And right now, her jaw was clenched so tight it looked like it might snap. Officer Jenkins stepped back the moment he saw her. His confidence wavered, his hand drifting away from his weapon. "Lieutenant, I was just following protocol," he stammered. The suspect matched. Shut it," Holloway snapped. "You're telling me this man," she pointed at Marcus, "matches your stolen vehicle suspect? In a suit? With a corporate ID around his neck?" Jenkins hesitated. He was acting suspicious. "No," she cut in, voice sharper now. "He was driving." "Well, black. That's what this is." Marcus stood frozen, arms still raised, unsure if he was dreaming or witnessing something even more dangerous. A cop challenging another cop in public. "I want all 3 units out of here." Now Holloway barked. "This traffic stop is over." The other officers hesitated, waiting for a signal from Jenkins. But Jenkins, deflated and humiliated, gave a nod. One by one, the cruisers peeled away. Lieutenant Holloway turned to Marcus, her tone softening. "Sir, are you okay?" Marcus slowly lowered his hands. "I think so," he said, his voice low. "I was just driving home." She nodded. "I'm sorry. That never should have happened. Marcus let out a bitter laugh. But it always does. He didn't say it to provoke her. He said it because it was true. This wasn't new. This wasn't surprising. It was just exhausting. I understand, Holloway said. More than you know. She handed him his license and registration, then paused. Do you want to file a complaint? Marcus hesitated. He looked down the road where Jenkins had gone. He thought about the meetings he had tomorrow. The school pickup. The way these things dragged out, the retaliation, the whispers. I don't know if it's even worth it. Holloway's eyes narrowed slightly. Then let me make it worth it. Marcus looked at her. What do you mean? Come in tomorrow, she said. Talk to internal affairs. I'll make sure they listen. Will they actually do anything? Her voice dropped. Only if people like you speak up. And if people like me make sure it's heard. There was a long pause between them. Then Marcus nodded. All right, I'll come in. Holloway offered a brief smile. Good. Because that man shouldn't be in uniform. As she turned back to her cruiser, Marcus climbed into his own vehicle. He sat there for a long moment, engine running, but going nowhere. He had just been profiled. Almost arrested. Possibly worse. And the worst part? If Lieutenant Holloway hadn't shown up when she did, no one would have believed his side of the story. But something was still bothering him. Why was she there? That street wasn't part of her usual patrol. And she hadn't just happened to be driving by. No, she'd been watching. But why? Marcus didn't know it yet, but that traffic stop was only the beginning. He thought he was the victim of a random act of racism. But the truth? He had just stumbled into something much bigger. The next morning, Marcus stood in front of a gray government building with tinted glass and a rusted sign that read, Internal Affairs, 4th Precinct. He almost didn't walk in. The thought of being in a room full of cops again, after last night, was like putting his hand back in the fire. But Lieutenant Holloway had asked, and something in her eyes told him this wasn't just about paperwork. Inside, the air was stale. Sterile. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, and everything smelled like burnt coffee and floor polish. A receptionist glanced at him and barely smiled. Marcus Cole. I have a meeting with Lieutenant Holloway, he said. The receptionist nodded and pointed to the elevator. 2nd floor. Room 207. As he rode up, Marcus checked his phone. Missed call from his wife. Text from his boss reminding him about a meeting. Life didn't slow down just because the world tried to knock you off balance. He stepped into room 207 to find Lieutenant Holloway already there, leaning over a desk stacked with folders. She looked up, calm but focused. Glad you came, she said. Marcus nodded slowly. I said I would. She gestured to the chair across from her. Before we begin, I need you to understand something. Last night wasn't a coincidence. Marcus frowned. What do you mean? Holloway opened a file, pulled out a blurry photo. It was Marcus sitting in his SUV, taken from a traffic cam. Time-stamped. Minutes before the stop. That camera shouldn't have flagged your vehicle, she said. But it did. Marcus leaned in. You're saying I was targeted. I'm saying someone made sure you were flagged. She lowered her voice. That stop was planned. Marcus sat back stunned. Why? She hesitated, then pulled out a second folder, this one marked confidential. She flipped it open and turned it toward him. Inside was a list of names, addresses, notes in red ink. And there was his name, top of the list. What is this? Marcus asked, voice tightening. It's something I discovered a week ago, Holloway said. An off-the-book surveillance list. Mostly black men. Most with clean records. All stopped at least once. All followed. Some harassed. A few arrested. Marcus's mouth went dry. By who? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she slid a photo across the table. It was Officer Jenkins. And next to him, a man in a suit. White. Late 50s. Cold smile. Recognize him? Holloway asked. Marcus narrowed his eyes. No. His name's Charles Remington. City Commissioner. Quietly oversees police budgets, training initiatives, and apparently Jenkins. Marcus blinked. Wait, you think a city commissioner is behind this? I don't think, Holloway said. I know, but I can't prove it. Not yet. Marcus stared at the folder again. At his name. Top of a list he never asked to be on. Why me? He asked quietly. Holloway hesitated for just a moment too long. Then she said, maybe because of who you work for. Marcus raised an eyebrow. I work in finance. Exactly, she replied. And 2 weeks ago, your firm started auditing city contracts. One of those audits linked directly to a slush fund Remington created. Marcus sat back in his chair, stunned. He thought this was about race. And maybe it was. But it was also about power. Money. Control. You're not just a random stop, Holloway said. You're a problem. One they wanted to scare into silence. Marcus rubbed his jaw, trying to process it all. Why are you helping me? He finally asked. She looked at him dead in the eye. Because I'm tired of playing along while people like him run this city from the shadows. There was a long silence between them. Then Holloway leaned forward. But if we're going to bring this into the light, I need your help. Marcus didn't know it yet, but agreeing to help her would be the most dangerous decision of his life. Marcus sat in his car in the parking garage, gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing keeping him grounded. His mind was racing. He had just learned he was being watched, tracked, by a powerful city commissioner. Not because he'd done anything wrong, but because he worked at a company digging into the wrong books. And now he was involved in something that felt way bigger than him. Holloway had given him a burner phone. She said if anything felt off, any sudden traffic stops, strange cars outside his home, blocked emails, he should call her directly. No questions. No hesitation. And now, just 2 days later, everything fell off. That morning, his keycard hadn't worked at the office. Security told him the system was glitching, but they looked at him like he was the glitch. Then, during a staff meeting, his boss, a man who'd always been polite but distant, barely looked him in the eye. Worse, someone had gone through his desk. He didn't have proof. Nothing was missing. But his drawer wasn't closed the way he always left it. The files were out of order. His pen, the one his daughter gave him, was gone. Something was happening. And it wasn't just paranoia. He called Holloway. You were right, he told her. Something's moving. Her voice on the other end was steady. Then we moved faster. Later that day, they met in the back of a small library in a quiet neighborhood on the city's east side. No cameras. No uniforms. Just two people sitting at a table between rows of dusty books. I think they're prepping to make you the fall guy, she said bluntly. They can't risk you talking. Marcus blinked. Talking about what? I don't even know anything. You know enough, she said. And they'll make it look like you know too much. She slid a folder across the table. Inside was a financial report, one that had been scrubbed from city servers. Marcus frowned. Where did you get this? I have my sources, Holloway said. Remington funneled over $2 million in consulting fees to fake shell companies over the last year. One of those companies is listed under your firm's audit route. And you think they'll pin it on me? They'll try. Because you're connected. And because your skin color makes you easier to frame, at least in their eyes. Marcus stared at the document. So what do we do? Holloway exhaled slowly. We bait them. His eyes widened. You want me to walk into a trap? No, she said. I want them to think you're walking into one. We flip it. Make them think you've figured it all out. That you've got hard evidence. We watch who panics. Who comes after you. And we record everything. Marcus hesitated. His pulse was hammering now. I have a daughter, he said quietly. A wife? I can. You can, Holloway said, her voice soft but firm. Because if you don't, they'll come for you anyway. And this way, at least you fight on your terms. He looked at her. Really looked at her. He knew she wasn't doing this out of duty. She was doing it because she had seen this machine chew up good men before, and she was done letting it happen. Okay, he said. Let's do it. That night, Marcus posted a vague update on his LinkedIn profile. Sometimes the truth isn't buried. It's just hidden in plain sight. Stay tuned. It wasn't much, but it was enough. The next morning, he got an email from someone inside City Hall. Anonymous. No subject. No signature. But the message was clear. They're coming for you. Get out now. And attached, A photo of Marcus walking his daughter to school. Zoomed in. Clear. Close. Marcus couldn't stop staring at the photo. It wasn't the angle or how close the shot was. It was the fact that someone had been behind him, watching him walk his daughter to school, and he hadn't noticed. Not once. This wasn't just surveillance. It was a warning. He sent the photo to Holloway, using the burner phone, fingers trembling. Her reply came fast. Pack a bag. Don't go home. Meet me at the safe house. Now, Marcus didn't hesitate. He didn't call his wife. Didn't go to work. He drove straight across the city, adrenaline sharp in his chest like ice. The safe house was a rundown apartment in a forgotten part of town. Old paint. Thin walls. No cameras. No records. Exactly what they needed. Holloway was already there in plain clothes, pacing like a soldier waiting for war. They moved faster than I expected, she said as Marcus walked in. That photo, that's a scare tactic. But it also means they're desperate. Marcus sat down on the edge of the couch. What now? She looked him dead in the eyes. We go live. Marcus blinked. What? I've compiled everything, she said, opening a laptop. The surveillance list. The financial records. Body cam footage from Jenkins that was never submitted to evidence. Everything. We leak it. Tonight. Marcus shook his head. They'll come after you. They already are, she said quietly. Silence filled the room for a long moment. Then Holloway added, You're not the first man they tried to silence. But you might be the first to survive it, if we hit them first. So they did. They uploaded everything to a secure whistleblower site. Then Holloway made a public statement, on camera. No badge, no uniform, just the truth. She laid it all out, the fake arrest, the internal corruption, the stolen funds, and the racially motivated targeting. And then she named names. Officer Jenkins, City Commissioner Remington, Chief of Police Arlen Griggs,